Hi guys, I'm back. I haven't been on. I'm not really the videos and me and the camera are not on the. I used to love the camera when I was like in high school, but then I got older and I don't love the camera now. So I get a little ugh, and I have a hard time focusing on what I want to say because nobody's talking back to me. So I trail off. That's how my thinking works. Story of my life. Anyways, listen to me. For those of you, I've had a couple clients recently that are very, and I'm talking in regards to my religion. I'm talking in regards, I'm Catholic, but I was raised in the center of Santeria. My family's from Cuba. I still have family in Cuba. I have the ones I have left that are still alive. Todos son santeros, santera, and I would love to go there one day, but it hasn't happened yet. But anyways, and I have shared that with you guys, so. But what I wanted to talk about is in regards to the Orishas, okay? So let me tell you, every person has the right to save themselves, okay? You don't need to be, it does help, don't get me wrong, and I'm not disrespecting my religion in any way, shape, or form, but let me tell you my experience. There was a time that I was in a really bad place and everything was going really bad. I must have been about 7 years ago. I want to say 7 years ago. I mean, everything, my marriage, I fucking was just a depressed person. It was awful. I felt a mess on the inside, okay? But I didn't look it I was only ugly on the inside. I didn't look it on the outside, but I was falling apart on the inside. And a friend of mine, a very close family friend whose grandmother es una santera, I went over there and yo tenía un muerto recostado. So apparently somebody had thrown something at me, or from what I learned later on in one of the ceremonies I received was the woman that my father had an affair with years and years and years ago. Because when you do certain initiations, everything comes out and you find out exactly who did what to you, and it's crazy. It's like a purging, okay? So apparently this woman, my dad had told her, I'm not leaving, Marlene for you or whatever. And she didn't like when my mother got pregnant. So there was something done from what I was told. And I'm very, very suspicious of everything. I'm that type of person where I have to really be convinced to believe it. And I'm not easily confused. So I remember her saying that era para perder la barriga. So since I was born, because I'm a badass, and it didn't work, I picked up on whatever it was that was given to my mom. Ultimately, my mom died at 37. So ultimately, it may have done something to her. You know what I mean? We don't know. Those are things we'll never know because it's hard to kill somebody with brujeria, okay? It can be done, pero eso se hace con palo mayombe. That's the darker side of Santeria. Santeria is more for healing. But you can do a lot of stuff con Santeria, don't get me wrong. But something like that has to be really well done, and it can happen, okay? So ultimately, like I said, she was 37. That's pretty young. That's in 6 years for me. That's pretty fucking young. And then I carried on like this dark cloud over me forever, it seemed. And it always seemed that way, But, and yeah, it's a long story. But anyways, as an adult, I always felt safe when I was learning about the Orishas. I always felt a sense of protection. Like I felt like that was the only thing I had because my mother was dead and my dad was always, far away from me. And I was just really alone growing up. I was really, really alone. I wasn't alone, but I felt alone all the time. You know what I mean? And so as I got older and things I could see that my life wasn't like other people's. And I knew that it was different because my mother wasn't around. I knew that. But there was something more. Like there was something that I was just not, and I wasn't sure what it was. But then when I started seeing my choice in, partners and how awful things were going for me, that's when I kind of got more into this religion, and because besides the fact that my father has always tenía hecho santo since I was born, I didn't pay much attention to it. I would see everybody in the kitchen doing the things with the chickens and the candles and whatever, but I would be playing and I wouldn't pay attention. And my dad would teach me, my grandmother también, and I had certain tías that would come, from Cuba, and they would teach me. But there are things that you don't realize that you should be remembering what they're telling you, but I was little, I was young, and now they're like super old, so now when I see them, I'm like, okay, tell me again. Because now it's like shit that I should have fucking wish I would have recorded. You know? But there's a lot of people out there that are not gifted. And I'm not saying I am, and I'm not saying I'm the most gifted. I'm not saying anything. I don't know. To each his own opinion. But there's a lot of people that will charge you that it becomes about money. Okay? And greed takes the wheel. Okay? So there's a lot of times when you are really fucked up. Okay? A veces sí tienes un muerto recostado. And that will destroy your life. It'll destroy your head. And you can't... I paid $500 to have this muerto removed. Okay? $500. At the time, I was like 21, 22. I was not young at all. I mean, I was not old at all. So I wasn't making bank. I didn't have a lot of money. It was a lot of money for me, okay? I was going through one of my separations. I mean, one of them. Yeah, he's left me so many times. So, but I did it, and I didn't get better. Nothing changed. I didn't get better, but then again, I didn't finish. I was supposed to go back. I never went back. They don't look for you. They didn't look for me. They didn't press the issue. It was done. They were paid. It was done. I still had like half a muerto on me, I guess. So things continue to get worse. There's been maybe 3 santeros o babalaos that I have gone to. One in particular that no longer practices. That made me walk out of there, and I said, I will never, ever disrespect this religion and never not believe in it. Because everything he said, no matter how far-fetched it sounded, came to pass. Everything. I mean, this man blew my mind, but it wasn't until after the fact. It doesn't happen until later, you know. You have to give it time. These readings, las consultas, a veces no pasan right away. A veces it takes months. I forgot when I saw this guy, this man, he blew my mind. I walked out of there thinking, fuck, what a waste of money. My God, when I found myself in handcuffs a few months later, I was like, that son of a bitch was fucking right. And I went to private school my whole life. I never been in trouble like that. When he told me that, I was like, you're tripping. I was like, me? And he even said it. He's like, this is going to be big. And I said, oh, this guy's full of shit, whatever. Came to pass. To the T, this man was good. There's very few people like him that still exist, okay? As far as I know. Because from what I've seen and from what I have experienced, they are all, they get a taste of the money that this can bring. And people that are vulnerable. And they take advantage of that. And sometimes they don't realize they're doing it. And sometimes money's worse than love. Like, love is blind. Money will fucking make you fucking blind, mute, deaf, everything. You know what I mean? It's awful. But whatever, to each his own, and every dog has its day. And I swear to you, I know that those people will have theirs, because it's ugly. You can't do that. If you're here, you have to know what you're in it for, you know? Yo conozco santeros that will charge the people that can pay a lot so that they can charge those that are less fortunate a little bit less. And I agree with that. I think that's the right way to do things. I think that's fair, you know? Because when a person needs help, they need it. And to make them have to pay a certain amount of money has got to be a sin. Like, it makes you no better than the fucking criminal. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, so I have a lot of clients that call me, and they are very prejudiced to a certain Orisha. Or they, you know, and that's okay. You can have your favorite. You can have the ones that you think the stories resonate with you. That's fine. Pero tú no sabes cuál es el dueño de tu cabeza until you have had certain ceremonies done. And even then, it's best to wait till the last minute, because there have been times when un santo se para last minute and wants your head. Okay? So it's always, and that usually happens when it's been years that you've known and you haven't done the ceremony para coronar el santo. So sometimes there are babalaos that will wait till the day of just to make sure, because things can go really bad if you don't know for sure, if you get it wrong. Okay? So when you have a favorite, see what happens there it creates an imbalance, okay? Because then you want to just do things for that Orisha, and you kind of ignore the rest, and they all work together. There's just one that owns your head. We believe that when you're born, an Orisha owns your head. They take you under their wing, okay? It's tu ángel de la guardia is what it ends up being, okay? In California, el Eguá is the most expensive. Oh my God. Si eres hijo del Eguá, you're going to pay because he's a badass, you know? They all are, but el Eguá is really pricey. Okay, that's irrelevant. But anyways, don't think that you need to have tienes que tener hecho santo in order to connect with them, because you do not. You do not need to. They will hear you regardless. It's your guardian angel. Okay? Now, it is possible that things happen and your guardian angel gets scared. It's possible to scare them. Okay? It's possible that you have a head injury. That's a bad thing. When you have a head injury, eso es tremenda cosa, because what happens is your head energetically, your aura, starts to leak. So then your guardian angel will feed off of that blood. Because a veces, when you don't do the rogaciones de cabeza, which is when they usually do, it's a little mini ceremony that lo hace una santera, un santero. And it involves sitting down with the plates for white candles, and they put a bunch of stuff on your head. There's different ingredients. You can do it with several different things. And then se tapa la cabeza, and then, it's just a little, you take it home, you put the candle by the head of your bed, and that's it. And they tell you where to drop off the remains. The next morning, you remove the stuff from your head, and you put it in a bag, you take it, and you dump it where they tell you. Okay. If you don't do those things every so often, what happens is your guardian angel gets hungry. Energetically, spiritually, le da hambre, and he will start to feed off the blood that runs through your head. When that happens, that's when you kind of start thinking unclearly. That's when you start acting out of character. That's when you start being impulsive. Se te calienta la cabeza, se te recalienta, and headaches, migraines. A lot of shit can happen. You're not thinking clearly. You're acting like somebody else. You're paranoid. It's a plethora of things that go down when that happens. Se te tiene que rogar la cabeza. In the event that you cannot find somebody who is honest or who is not so busier than God, and because it happens. And that's the one thing I don't like about, this religion, and it's from my own personal experience, because I love the Orishas, and I dreamt with the day I can have them in my home. You know what I mean? Eso fue para mí, the day que salió, that I was supposed to receive them. Oh my God. I was so happy because I felt the love was returned, It was crazy. But that for me was just, I don't know, I got goosebumps right now. It was a dream come true for me. It was crazy. So anyways, I still have goosebumps. And when I found out that they were in a battle for my head, oh my God, you don't know how, I left my padrino's house feeling like, like there was nothing I couldn't do. It was crazy when I heard that, because, que Yemaya, Ochun, Chango, and I had the whole, ¿Cómo fue lo que dijo? Algo cielo celestial. I forgot the words he used, but he made it seem as if I had them all coming out, like standing up for me, and I had done some shit, and yet and still they were still there fighting for me, and I just felt I had never, ever, since my mom was alive, I never felt so loved. It was crazy. For me, it was a big deal. But cuando hay una guerra en la cabeza, what happens then is Obatala comes in, and he usually takes ownership of your head, because he has to calm that battle down, okay? So that's what happens there. So for those, I'm getting all over the place. For those of you who have a favorite, who are prone and who are adamant about, that's your angel, that's your guide, it is. You have all this in common. Look, man, we don't know who it is, and I'll tell you one thing, it's usually the one that's the most quiet. The last one you expect is usually the one that comes through to take control of your head. So we never know, and it's disrespectful to assume that we do, okay? Y con las cartas, eso no se sabe. People with tarot cards, you cannot find out. There's no way. It's not legitimate, okay? It may cause more damage than good. So if somebody's told you that through cards, they do not know what they're talking about. Eso tiene que ser con un babalao o una santera, con los caracoles o con el dilogún they use a board, and they have that necklace with the two sides, and that's, eso es lo que usan los babalao. That's how they tell you, okay? But until then, you can do this yourself. You have every right to save your own ass. If you find yourself knee fucking high in shit and your life's falling apart and you don't have the money anymore, because when this shit is real, te saca el dinero así. Things will break, major things. I got into so many accidents a few years ago. The major things in the house were breaking: the washer, the dryer, the fridge, the trees caught that plague I mentioned to you guys. And I'm talking like $800 here. Money I didn't have, okay? For a new car, I didn't have the fucking money to save my own fucking ass. So whatever was being done to me didn't give a fuck. It wasn't stopping, okay? And there's a lot of santero hibabalao and people that are spiritual that will talk a good one, and when it comes down to it, they're too busy. It seemed that way to me. They'd see me once, they would be really great with me, and then after that, they wouldn't answer the phone, or they just were too busy to see me, and then I always felt like maybe I scared them off. It left me always wondering, like, what do I have on me that they are not who they were in the beginning, And I didn't like that feeling. And I know sometimes they're busy, I get it. And I didn't get it until I got into it myself. I did get it, but not to this extent that I get it now. Okay, so when that happens, you have every fucking right to save your own ass. It's your divine right. Don't ever think that they won't hear you. Don't ever think that you cannot connect with them on your own. Okay? Don't ever think that you have to have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 para hacerte esto, para hacerte eso. Because if not, they're not going to listen to you. No, that's not true. Because then what does that make them? They're fucking gold diggers? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So don't ever think that. But in order to connect with them, you have to get creative. You can say a prayer, no problem. You can say a prayer in their language, no problem. You can make an offering for them, no problem. You can talk to them from the heart, no problem. But when you go to their place of where they reside, like Konochun, if you go to a riverbed or a waterfall, if you go on a hike and then you find a waterfall of water that's actually flowing, you go to the bottom of it and you sit there and you talk to her. Oh, she's sitting right next to you. Believe it. Believe it, please. Or you go to the mountains. You know what I mean? For whatever the case may be, get creative. Or maybe you can organize, like a beach cleanup. Y se hace en el nombre de Yemaya. Believe me, the petition gets heard. Maybe not as fast, maybe not as strongly. It's kind of like knowing the owner to a club and knowing the bouncer. If you know the bouncer, he can try to get you in, but if you know the owner, you're in. You know what I mean? So that's the difference between the initiations and the non-initiations. It's just your wait may be a little bit longer, but then again, not always. Have faith that you can do it, that you have the right to save your ass if you find yourself in problems. Now, I'm not talking about hurting people, and I'm not talking about love work. I'm talking about when your life is going in a million pieces. That's when you have the right to get, to do what you got to do. When somebody's throwing shit at you, you have every right to defend yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever think that all hope is lost because so-and-so screwed you over, or because you're just not getting any results from people, or because you've tried 1 million people online and they haven't helped you. You're looking online, okay? Sometimes you have to really ask yourself, who did I contact? Did I find them on a website? Have I seen what they're like in person? Have I been able to see videos where they actually speak? Or was it just a website and I was impulsive and I just via email? Did I get to speak with them? Did they give me a WhatsApp number, which I don't understand WhatsApp. I never used it. I think I have used it a few times, but not for this, not for my work. Do I have a contact phone number for them? Are they just doing things through email? You need to really get honest with yourself before you start turning your back on help, okay? Como para los himawas también. Los himawas, they're bad. I've received them. They were the only ones that came out that were going to save me when I was going through all that. Because they defeated the devil, because they're twins. So when one would come out, they made an agreement with the devil. And they said, because the devil kept coming and ruining their crops, okay? So then one day, they asked him to leave, and he said no. He enjoyed damaging what they were working so hard for. So they did a dance battle, salseros así. And cuando se cansaba el diablo, he got tired. But one twin would dance, and then when he would get tired, he'd switch with the other twin. And sure enough, cuando salía el otro, so the devil didn't know what the fuck was going on. How were they not getting tired? And they defeated the devil that way. Those are the ones that came out to save me. So I have received them. You can throw a party for kids. You can give a charity donation, and that will connect with them. You know what I mean? I sit and I color with them sometimes. No problem. Or I make them little cupcakes, blue and pink. No problem. You know what I mean? You do what you got to do that connects with their energy, because they're everywhere. Okay? Los Ibeis le encanta the cream soda. Oh my God. You could do love work with cream soda with them. You know what I mean? I got goosebumps. I probably owe them. I make them goodie bags all the time, like little birthday bags, Pero se hacen en nombre de ellos. You do it in honor of them. You dedicate it to them, But this video is getting really long, so I'm going to cut it already. But, okay, guys. Los quiero muchísimo. Goodbye.